Inside Monrovia, a show created and hosted by our community, spotlighting local businesses, organizations, and incredible people that make up our neighborhood. This is Inside Monrovia. Super excited to introduce you to this guest. You've seen him here on KGEM, he's an activist, an amazing gentleman. Mr. Walker, thank you for being here.
Hey, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Anytime I'm with you, I'm feeling comfortable.
I love it, and I'm glad that we got to do this right here.
Oh, neighborhood hero, neighborhood treasure. Leroy Buster Criss really should be lieutenant, okay?
Lieutenant, there it is. So we're right here, if you're not familiar, Ivy Maple, next to Community Baptist Church. You can see this posted. It just came up, dedicated on August 7th of this year. And I wouldn't have known about this if it wasn't for you, Mr. Walker. So I appreciate you sharing the history of Leroy, Mr. Criss. How did this, can you kind of just walk me back into before and how this happened?
That long journey, you know, in life, when you're a person of color, black, brown, or whatever, you're often given a baton from someone to carry something. I had the honor to interview Thelma Adams, which Leroy Criss was her cousin. So we're talking in the interview, and she tells me, oh, Leroy Criss? Oh, he was a Tuskegee airman. I remember when he went up to Monrovia High School in his uniform, and the white students were pissed. A black person can't fly no plane. And he said, well, I'm in a uniform. So and I thought, maybe this lady is a little senile. She's saying, a Tuskegee airman at Monrovia High School? I never heard of that before.
From Monrovia?
From Monrovia. And then when he went back after serving in the service, they refused to give him a job simply because he was a black man. That's like, you got to be kidding. You go through all this military stuff and you come home with your uniform and you think you finally recognized as, quote, American. And then you go through more stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
In your hometown.
In your hometown. So fast forward, I couldn't believe it. So I started doing research, scratching and digging, and lo and behold, Leroy Criss, student at Monrovia High School, was a Tuskegee airman. That's right. Did he go fly over in Europe? No, he didn't. But he still was a Tuskegee airman. You know, when you think about war, people always want to know, how many people did you kill? They don't want to talk about how many people did you help. It's all right. Did you drop a bomb on somebody?
Yeah.
You know, that part. But he created a out-of-bounds program where he took a lot of people, a lot of young people in the inner city and took them out to the national reserves. And that was a beautiful thing. He taught in LA school district for like 25 years. So what a loss for Monrovia High.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I do love that that's right here on the plaque.
Yes.
You know, unfortunately, he was never given the opportunity to teach in Monrovia due to the color of his skin.
Trippy, huh?
It's wild. I'm glad it's here documented. One of the things that really sat with me as I looked at him enlisting into the military in 1943. Here we are dedicating a plaque in his honor in 2021. And
the journey.
The journey, right?
Yeah,
but
journey.
It's also, with the journey, there was something that was done that then gets acknowledged later. I'm blown away by that because I don't know if he knew what he was doing then would be acknowledged in this regard today.
No, I think as his daughter would say, that her dad never spoke about Tuskegee Airmen and what he went through, nor the rejection from Monrovia High School. because that's a very painful experience. It is you coming back to the high school, you want to teach, you want to help those students there.
Yes.
That's a bitter memory that you rather not just talk about it. Yeah, so I think he probably would be stunned. They'll realize that he's recognized on this day, August 7th of the year 21. But it's important because there'll be a lot of young people that walk up this street, stop and read this, ask the question, who was he?
Right.
Okay. The visual, you could tell he flew a plane. He was in the service, but if you couldn't read, you never would know he went to Monrovia High School. They should have had the high school in the backdrop.
Yeah, right.
But since the high school rejected him, they didn't want to do it. And they probably get upset with Ralph Walker. Why you have to bring up that? Because that was part of his journey. You know, we all in life go through a journey.
Right.
We run into people that help us lead the way, and sometimes we run into people that can lead us in the opposite direction. Right. So on that day, I was really happy because Thelma Adams was sitting in the crowd. She's in her mid-90s, okay? And she got very little attention that day. Everybody was hustling and bustling. You know how crowds get. I want to be in the picture, get me, you know? And I could see, and I was just so happy that she lived to see this day, which is a rarity because so often when people are engaged in a struggle, they don't get to see that baton passed on, and they don't see someone breaking the tape.
Right.
They might just see him in the distance, look like they got the lead, but they don't see that end. So she got to see the end, and I was happy about that.
I love that, and as you say that, it makes me think of, you know, the younger folk watching this now that's trying to figure things out for themselves in life. Be excellent at what you do.
Right.
You know, like I get terrified of thinking 40, so we go, let's say 80 years later, and somebody pulls up your social profile to see who you are. And all it is twerk videos and, you know what I mean? Like, what is that going to look like? And was there any thought about being excellent at something right now?
Yes, because you learn from Leroy, Criss, that we as a people, you are resilient. We are resilient people. A lesser person could have just totally gave up.
Yes.
And just started drinking alcohol and just, Tuskegee airman, I couldn't make it at the high school, they wouldn't hire me, forget it. No, he took his craft and his skills to Los Angeles and did something wonderful, still impacting young people. Yeah. It was a young man that was here that was part of the Out of Bounds program, which was like, wow, that's heavy. Yeah. That's heavy. And then there's other people along the way that helped me in my journey. One being Mark Steele, that was the curator at Monrovia's Historical Museum. No one said his name, but he was the first to say Leroy Criss should have a statue in Library Park, that sacred Mecca in Monrovia, okay?
I'm gonna go ahead and say, if a black man couldn't get a gig at the high school, for a black man to be at Monrovia at the Library Park, I don't think I'm gonna see that in my lifetime.
They might put a bench there for Ralph Walker. How about that?
Come on,
at least you can sit down. Yeah, so that in itself was quite amazing. Mark Steele, who passed away, but I can remember him even putting a display in the museum of Leroy Criss, which was remarkable. Yeah, you know, seldom talked about, but it was there.
And I do love that ABC came out to cover
Oh
this.
yes, they had to give them their props. They did it. They put together a tremendous piece in 1 minute and 36 seconds. I just wish they had got my part. And what was my part? My part was getting the crowd to say the name Leroy Criss 3 times. Just to put it in the air. Because it is written, when you say a person's name, you bring that spirit. You bring all what they put on this planet Earth, you're putting it back out there. So to say Leroy Criss and thunderation of people, that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Mr. Walker, I appreciate your time. Thank
Yeah.
you for coming here
Yeah.
too to share
Yeah.
what you do and the history that you give and the context that you give to things that have happened here in Monrovia is appreciated. Thank you for how you serve at KGEM on your show and talking to city officials. But
Yeah.
now,
You got a problem. You know, people often ask, they say, well, who are you? You don't live in Monrovia. Why are you so active in Monrovia? Because I like to tell people I'm a community activist. And then they wonder, what does that mean? The words tell you. I'm active in community. I don't care what community is. If you go to where I live at in Covina, they'll tell you, oh, we know Ralph Walker. If you go to Pasadena, they'll tell you we know Ralph
Yeah.
Walker. Just ask Larry Wilson.
and let me ask you this, Mr. Walker. I think right now, like for a younger generation of folk who's like, yeah, I'm active, I'm online, I'm posting stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool, right? To post
Yeah.
things. Can you give like a good step for somebody who really wants to be active in their community? What does that look like for them to get out their house and what is that first step?
Being active in the community is knowing the subject that you're working on. Know it. Know it better than the person that is that subject. And then make a sacrifice to make something happen. Don't get hung off in the talk of the talk of the talk of the talk. Where's your action? Your action dictates really what you're all about. Because years ago, people told me this never was going to happen. I don't recognize no Leroy Criss. Folks in the military in Monrovia. And there's a few of them that know who I'm talking about. They never said his name. They never gave me support to say, hey, Ralph, hey, you're doing a good job on Leroy Criss. You know, it's pretty sensitive to talk about him in Monrovia. Why? Oh, because he got rejected by the high school and people don't really want to hear that part.
Yeah, he's a black man they wouldn't hire here in the city.
Yeah, like so many others. Not the first, not the last. But like I say, his resiliency didn't stop him from doing what he was put on the planet to do, and that was to help people.
Yeah.
So being an activist is, you take some lumps too, because it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing because you sacrifice time from your family or you sacrifice time from other folks. They might be just kicking it playing the video game.
Right.
You know, sometimes you gotta step out and deal with the real world. So thank you once again
I
for
appreciate you.
allowing me to talk that talk to all you viewers out there. And remember what Fred Hampton used to say, Fred Hampton, Illinois chapter, Black Panther Party, you're never too young to be a revolutionary or too old.
That's right. And I'm gonna work on getting you that bench up there at the Library Park. Welcome, I'm here right now, and I'm actually not nervous for the very first time in my life sitting here in the principal's office. Principal McGinnis, thanks so much.
You're most welcome.
Appreciate you inviting us into your space, actually. Wanted to sit down with you, man. I know that being a principal in this moment cannot be anything easy. If you could just kind of give us a little backstory, where'd you grow up at?
So I grew up actually in La Cañada, a couple towns over, and
So you're the rival.
Yes.
It started a rival,
so
okay.
Yeah, it's okay. But I've been here in Monrovia longer than I was there, and so green and white comes out of my pores. Monrovia for me has been a home.
Yeah.
My family has been here for 22 years now,
Okay.
and we gravitated toward this community because we felt like it was part of who we are now.
Yeah. So, husband, father.
Yep. We both my wife and I are in education. We got into teaching together. We joined a program called Teach for America right out of college, and both of us fell in love with education. I had a great opportunity to go back to school and get my administrative credential. I was teaching kindergarten at the time, and my principal said, "Hey, Kirk, you're good at this. You should be thinking about. Have you ever thought of becoming a principal?" And I hadn't thought about it until that moment. And so once I started reading, doing some research, getting some more opportunities, this sort of kind of fell into place. And 4 kids, or 3 of them have already come through Monrovia Unified Schools.
Okay.
They went to Mayflower and then to Clifton and then through here. And my 3 girls have already graduated. 2 have graduated from college, and 1 is 1 more term away.
Okay, awesome.
And our son is a freshman here at the high school now. So,
as a teacher going to a principal, it's kind of a whole different world, right? Or
yeah, in a way, it's very different in some ways, and it's very similar in others. At the heart of what we do in education is relationships. It's connecting with kids, it's connecting with their families, it's connecting with your colleagues, and so I find the skills that good teachers have transition nicely over into administration. And I open up every day with how can I be of service, how can I support you as a parent, as a kid, as a student, as a teacher, as a staff member. I found what I love to do, and it's a little bit cliche, but if you love the work that you do, then you don't feel like you're working. And so that's what drives me.
That's cool, and I love that it's kind of almost a player-coach situation. You've been in that situation, you know what I mean? That side of it, now you get to be on this side.
Yeah.
Coming over here, what was one of the things, as you're looking back now, that you're excited to have seen how it's grown and developed?
In education, you mean?
Yeah, or here specifically in Monrovia.
Oh, yeah. Well, so one of the things that I'm most proud of that's happened here at Monrovia High School is just the growth of opportunities for our kids, growth of programs that connect them to school. We strive to build a school where no one wants to leave, where they get what they need, and that they're connected to something that they're passionate about. And when I got here, there were so many great programs already established. And so what I've been able to do is just to build on and accentuate the good and continue to grow and create where there were gaps. And so, I say to parents and kids, I want your kid to get connected to something you're passionate about. If it's something we already have, great. If it's something that we need to keep growing, start talking so we can have a conversation about what that is for you. And it might be an academic program, it might be a sport, it might be a co-curricular activity, it might be a club. And that's the goal. It's to listen to kids and hear what they say and create for them.
I love that.
Their school, right? I just work here.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said, your passion. Find out, talk about it.
Right.
Say it, verbalize it. What side is it? Like, let's get you onto that. We were talking a little bit before the cameras started rolling about the other programs that you have now, the digital arts. Like, that was the stuff that, I'm gonna be honest, I really wish we had it in the 90s here.
Sure.
But tell me about it now.
Our goal is to create kids that are prepared for college and career. And so college is one stepping stone to a successful career. And so, we have academic programs, we have academies, we have a math and science academy, we have a humanities academy, we have AP coursework, we have early college, we have all these programs that are really supporting kids to make that first step right into college right after high school. We also recognize that might not be the step that many kids want to take right now. And so for lots of different reasons. And so we recognize that creating programs that teach, industry certified recognized skills, we call it CTE, and they're career technical education programs. We have 5 different pathways here that are developing industry recognized workable skills that kids can walk out of these doors, or even get jobs while they're in high school.
Wow.
In pathways that are high interest, that are in high demand. In employers are looking for kids that have these skill sets, and that will help set a platform for students to be successful in their career afterwards. So 5 pathways that we have. We have auto engineering. So
Super cool.
we're one of the few schools in the San Gabriel Valley that has a robust automotive program still. A lot of those things get sort of pushed off to the side, budget cuts and things like that, but we've made we're dedicated to keeping programs like this alive. So kids are turning wrenches and bringing, you can hear the air wrenches, and they're welding, they're diagnosing systems in cars, and so that whole automotive engineering pathway is super robust. And digital video production, so kids are learning to do exactly what you're doing now, the in front of the camera, behind the camera, the editing, the audio setup. Our kids are live streaming our games, they're recording programs, things like that. We also have a sports medicine program. So students are learning how to diagnose injuries, how to prevent injuries, how to diagnose and then treat sports-related injuries. The other one is graphic design. So students are learning how to do layout, use Adobe, all these platforms that are able, designing websites, designing flyers and pamphlets, things like that. So that's pretty cool. And then the last one is computer programming. Our Digital Studies Academy is really all centered around computer programming, video game design. We've got a group of kids we've done 2 iOS platform games that they design from scratch. They program it, they write the script, they create the graphics, the storyline, and then they also have a team that's producing it and rolling it out. How do we publish it and how do we advertise it? So, these are things that these kids are passionate about, that are preparing them to be entrepreneurs, or we have internships, so our kids are working alongside professionals in the field, so that they get that workplace skill set now. So those are things that we're excited about, that we've established here.
I love it. Everything you're saying, because for me, my success was interning, just interning and getting to see. I feel like if you're setting these young people who are passionate already up with an opportunity of access to just get in there and peek around.
Yeah.
So exciting.
That's where the creative juices start happening, right? You can learn a lot in the classroom, but when you are out in the field and you're working alongside experts that are doing this as a living, then you really start to grow as a learner.
As a parent who's now had your daughters kind of grow through the system, what is something that you could share with a parent who's listening to their child but is like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You want to do what? I do this for 9 to 5. You can't make a living. Is there anything that you could kind of help the parent out with understanding?
Yeah. I won't pretend to have advice and answers for everything. I can always share what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. But I will say, the best thing parents can do is just be there and listen, ask lots of good questions. I think we owe it to our kids to provide them with opportunities and support to try things out. It might be, hey, take this course, or connecting with someone that but supporting their initiatives and their ideas, because what they're going to need to do is they're going to need to find what they're interested in, and that's the goal of that's the goal of colleges. Is when you go to college, you take a whole bunch of courses that are not necessarily connected to what you've identified as your major, and the goal is to have a broad educational experience, right? You get well-rounded education, but also to kind of identify, oh, this is an area that I'm really good at, or this is an area that I might like, or more importantly, man, that's an area I know that I'm not strong at, and now I know that. And so I guess my advice would be just to listen and ask good questions and provide lots of support.
That's cool. Yeah. I love that you care. It just oozes out of you. I absolutely love that, man. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure you see so many young people that you can only do so much to help each of them from where you're sitting. If you could, if there's something that you could tell, the questions where you see a young person and they might just not know which way to go. Are there questions they need to be asking? Are there people they need to be talking to grow? How could you encourage that young student?
Yeah, so I think, you're right. I am only one person, and I'm glad you asked that, because what we have here at school is a big support network. There's a lot of people. The people that work at the school and in our district are here because they care. They care about our kids, and so those systems of support are really important for us. And I think what I would encourage kids to do is to ask lots of questions. You get a lot of input from sitting down like we're doing now and having a conversation. So ask questions. What kind of work do you do? How did you get into that job? What does it take to do that? Do you have any advice for someone like me who might be interested in that? I think those that are inquisitive and ask some of those questions, and you get a lot of feedback. And that sort of comes back to something that I try to establish in conversations with kids and in our classrooms, that don't hesitate to speak up, don't hesitate to ask. There should be no wrong answer, no bad question, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's on us as adults to be able to set up those environments where kids feel comfortable to ask those questions, and also be a good listener. I think that's a huge, important skill set that people in general have to have. Yeah. And when you stop what you're doing, put your phone down, put whatever you're doing, and lean in and listen to a kid, or to your colleague, or to a community member, or your family, whatever it happens to be. When you start to do that really effectively, that's when we start to change roles. That's when we start to change, impact lives. So
absolutely. All right. Well, now that I grilled you on the principal side of things, your favorite burger spot here in the city?
Ooh. Well,
neighboring cities work too.
Okay. Yeah. This might be really sort of a cop out, but my backyard. Getting the family around and friends and putting some burgers on the grill. That's where it's all at for me. I will say I do like an In-N-Out double with grilled onions and no tomato. If that's on the menu, that's my order.
Okay. Taco spot.
Las Marias.
Okay. I'll go. I have a few. I like. Have you tried El Picocito down off a mountain?
I have not been there. The other one is Baja Mar. I do like Baja Mar. That is the other one that we go to frequently.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Where would somebody possibly find you when you are not at a school event? What would Principal McGinnis be out doing?
Well, this is quite popular with a lot of the kids here, but I do enjoy skateboarding still, even as an adult. So you ask a number of kids, and I live here in town, so they'll see me cruising down my street or finding a good hill to go down. But yeah, you'll find me out skateboarding, out walking our dogs. We've got 2 dogs that we are out all the time with. Not coaching right now, but I have coached ASO soccer for a lot of years. So a lot of kids know me as coach before they even knew me as Mr. McGinnis.
That's cool.
So that's been kind of fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna look for you on the skateboard for sure. I got mine.
There you go.
And if there is something that you would love to see happen in your time as principal here in Monrovia? I love
Hey,
it.
That's the bell.
I love
that's
it.
The
The
end of the
school
day.
bell. Yeah. So last question.
Yeah.
What would be that like personal thing maybe that you have that you're like, I'd love to see this happen in my time here?
Each year we start with sort of like debriefing the last year and setting up goals for this year. So there's a lot of like tangible goals that we have set, year to year. Usually they're program specific. Usually it's like implement this piece to help reach this goal. So there's always something like that. One of the things that I strive to make happen on this campus and generally in education is creating that sense of where that support set, that net of support for all kids and adults, so that no one goes through the day feeling like they haven't been seen, feeling like they haven't been heard, and feeling like they haven't been loved. And so our goal, my goal is to, I can do a lot as one person, but it needs to be that, another cliche, but it needs to be that community. Everybody needs to be on the same team in support of the work that we're doing. And so, if when I move on to something else, if we have that culture here on this campus and in our community that's pervasive, then I feel I could sleep really well at night.
Man, appreciate you being here, Mr. McGinnis. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
And I'm really, really glad that Monrovia High School has you in this seat.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.